Welcome to DeWitt Dunn Financial Services with your host, Cathy DeWitt Dunn.
And good morning and welcome back. I'm Cathy DeWitt Dunn along with Steve Ringo and Russell Wilhite. We're so glad that you're joining us early this morning. And good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to be here.
Well, it's
Let's
great.
say that again. It's great to be here.
Jinx.
Double jinx.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's going to be an interesting show. By the way, Russell, you have disappointed our listeners. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. The cello did not come out on Easter, but we'll have to figure out another time soon.
Well, we need to go ahead and think about a date next week. Why don't you announce it? That way everybody can just be waiting, and we can send it out on social media to watch you.
Oh my gosh, let me check my music first and find a good piece. I'll get back with you.
Well, let me just say this. You can print music off the internet.
Very true.
Okay, you don't have to go find it. Would you like me to find something for you? Or actually, Laura, who's also a registered investment advisor, has an MBA in music. Perhaps she could help us.
Yeah, I'm sure she's very aware of all those different pieces out there.
Well, the good news is I no longer have my flute, so I will not be able to help. I will not be able to contribute, nor would anybody want me to at this stage in my life. Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're in the studio with us today. And one of the things we're going to talk about is long-term care, and we talk about it usually early in the morning. But let me just tell you something. If you haven't been reading all the buzz out there on social media and also all the media outlets, I think one of the things is that you need to understand the future of Social Security and currently where we're at. In 2018, it was the first year Social Security had to tap into the trust to make its payments to everybody that's receiving income on a monthly basis. And one of the challenges is the Social Security Administration says if nothing is done, tens of millions of Americans will only receive 3/4 of their benefit. Wait a minute. Social Security only covers 40% of your fixed expenses once you've retired. And now they're saying you're going to end up with 3/4. Well, you better have some money saved. We're going to talk later today about our retirement accounts and what we can do to help you there. But one of the challenges is that I think it's healthcare. Healthcare is going to be one of the bigger crises later down the road, if not the major one, because of longevity and people living longer. And my goodness gracious, and all the medications that they're giving everybody to preserve them. So, one of the things is are you going to have enough money to have a comfortable retirement? And 2/3 of those surveyed by the Employee Benefit Research Institute believe they will. But CNBC's Sharon Epperson points out a lot. And a lot of the people that are thinking that, they're just guessing. They really haven't done the research. So let's listen to what she has to say.
There are a number of people that haven't even done the calculations yet on how much it's going to cost them to retire and what they're going to need to live comfortably all of those years. 42%, that's only the number that have done that type of calculation. And only 29%, that's less than 1 in 3 people, have actually calculated how much money they're going to need for probably their biggest expense, and that is healthcare expenses.
And healthcare is something that people really need to think about. And there's a way that they can shift the risk to an insurance company to offset these expenses, Russell.
That's right. When we look at things, and the cost of future health is a big concern for a lot of retirees. It can be one of the fastest drains to your assets if major medical bills really start taking a big hit on your portfolio. So we need to look at alternatives. We can't just rely on, the Social Security out there and everything else that might be through, government. We can't rely on everything that's going to be through government assistance. We're going to need alternatives out there. So we have some long-term care plans in place that can really help you leverage today's dollars. There's a lot of misconceptions and information out there from the old way of doing long-term care. We look at 2008, 5.7 million people used some kind of long-term care that they needed for their major health and major medical. So being able to take assets that you already have allocated. We talk to people every day, and they already have it allocated, $100,000 over here on the side. That's what we're going to use for major medical. Well, why would we keep it there in that account when we can shift it to an insurance company and leverage that for future tax-free dollars? We insure our house, we insure our car. Why wouldn't we insure our major medical with a long-term care plan?
Yeah, and that's a great point. People have, Medicare, and later down the road, Medicare is not going to pay for long-term care. I know that from personal experience with my dad, right? So it doesn't cover it. And one of the challenges is that typically when you think that you really need it, you might not be able to qualify for it, right? We see that all the time. So it's really one of the things that Russell says, which I love, I'm going to have to steal your thunder today, is that this is the youngest and the healthiest you're ever going to be. So it doesn't cost anything to apply. But, if you take $100,000 or even if it's $150,000 and you can leverage that to $900,000 to $1 million in healthcare, you can't do that in a portfolio. You can't have your money. And by the way, your cash value is also growing at 4%. Well, I could put my money in the bank, my $100,000 or $150,000, and I can slate it for long-term care so I can pull it out. Well, you're not getting 4% on your money at the bank, and you're not able to leverage that to $900,000 to $1 million 10, 20 years down the road because you're sitting with that money in the bank making nothing. So we're able to solve for medical expenses, medical equipment in the home, your cash value growing at 4%. Why don't you give us just a quick number on maybe a couple? You have an illustration there you can walk us through?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking a lot about for our listeners, hypothetically, married couple, husband and wife, both age 60. They got $100,000 already kind of allocated, set aside. That's going to be used for future medical. Well, we shift it to the long-term care plans that we work with. $100,000 can provide $4,500 a month, tax-free, for each husband and wife. So if both were on care and both needed care for 12 months, that's $108,000.
And you only put in, what, 100?
And you only put in 100. A lot of people don't like the idea of, shifting money to a long-term care plan because if I never need long-term care, what happens? The money goes to the insurance company? No. You get a tax-free death benefit. On this plan right here, $150,000 tax-free death benefit to your heirs, to your kids. So it's not like you just flushed the money down the drain or gave it to the insurance company. It's another asset on your sheet, growing cash value, tax-free death benefit, but really able to leverage that $100,000 for $900,000 plus worth of tax-free future benefits.
And also, I'd like to point out you don't have to be married to qualify for this plan. It could be a couple that's living together. It could be two sisters, a sister and a brother. It could be a mother and a daughter. So it's a great plan because you're able to do it jointly, but you don't have to be married.
That's right. There are other plans where you have to look at single policies. So that's twice the expense, one for the husband, one for the wife. These true joint plans really help bring the cost down. And as you mentioned, you're single, you're not married, well, put your sister, put your brother, and split the cost that way. It's way more affordable than trying to go out and get your own single plan. There's a lot of benefits, a lot of leverage, and we can talk more about that.
Awesome. We're going to go get a quick cup of coffee. And if you would love to schedule an appointment with us on long-term care, we'd love to see you. And there's no cost, no obligation, even when you apply. It's after you've been approved, then you can decide how you're going to fund it. We have a lot of people that, actually even pull money out of their retirement accounts and pay the taxes on it because that's where they're going to get their money to pay the claims later down the road anyway. So may as well go ahead and handle that now. The number to reach us today is 972-473-4700. Again, that's 972-473-4700. And as a matter of fact, you can come in. The appointment is pretty quick, 30, 45 minutes, get some health questions. We can run you through all the different companies and all the different options on long-term care. We don't just represent one company. We represent all of them. And then you make the decision on which plan might work best for you. Again, we're going to go to a quick break. We have offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and in Arlington, Texas. And the number to reach us today is 972-473-4700. That's 972-473-4700. I'm Cathy DeWitt Dunn along with Steve Ringo and Russell Wilhite. We'll be right back.